folks. Great. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. I hope you've had a great second day at PSConf.
Hang on a minute.
What?
Come in. Nobody will notice you're late. It's okay.
Nobody's noticing. Hopefully you're here ready to learn about Microsoft Fabric and why it's important for the PowerShell professional. So much enthusiasm.
Ah, it's amazing.
Great. All right. Before we get started, we need to say thank you to our sponsors. Without these folks, PSConf couldn't be a thing. And so make sure you stop by their booths, get their cool swag and things. What have you done? Get your cool swag and things, but most importantly, thank them for being here, because without their support, this would be impossible.
So I probably need to talk next. So, oh no, it's you.
This is me. My name's Jess Pomfret. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm a data platform engineer. I work for a company called Data Masterminds. We have a sister company called DevOps Masterminds that I'm doing a lot of work for now also. I started life as a SQL Server DBA, and I got bored of doing the same thing over and over again. So I was like, how can I automate it? And I found PowerShell. And this was turns out to be 10 years at least ago now. Whew. But anyway, then I got involved in dbatools and dbachecks as open source projects that I could contribute to. That also made my life easier, so that was a win-win. But just recently, I've started also helping with Fabric tools with Rob and a couple of other folks from the community. The most important stuff on this slide is my contact details. If you want to get in touch, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can email me. I'm on Blue Sky, but I'm not as good as responding on there. I think that's it. You can talk about the book, Rob. Who are you?
Hi, my name's Rob. I'm also an MVP because Microsoft say that I talk too much. I am a consultant who basically just builds stuff. Yeah, and talks too much also. As you know, hopefully by now, I am one of the people that helps make this thing go. And with Jess, with Claudio, and with Chrissy Lemaire. Hi, Chrissy. We wrote a book about dbatools, which is one of the open source projects that we get involved with.
So what are we here to talk about today? We're here to talk about Microsoft Fabric and why we care. But the main reasons about why we care as PowerShell professionals and as administrators probably is the deployment and administration of Microsoft Fabric.
So we always have this thing about questions. So why do you care? Why are you here?
Perfect.
Excellent.
Great.
First point. What is Fabric? A good place to start. Okay. Why does anybody care about this? I've been telling you for years, look after your DBAs because data is important. Yeah. Even all of this AI stuff we hear about, it's all based on data. Data is very, very important. Why is this talk about Fabric important? So we bring it down just to Fabric. Those folk. Yeah, that's why it's important. Because guess what they're doing? They're flying in airplanes. When they fly in airplanes, they read magical books.
In-flight magazines.
In-flight magazines.
And they have shiny things in them, like things that you might not need for your house, but you should definitely buy. And also, Microsoft Fabric. Shiny.
And also, the book says that everything about Fabric is
super easy, super cool, super chill.
And the very specific words they use, low friction.
Oh, yeah. That means super chill.
Yeah. So your CEOs are reading magazines that tell them that using Fabric is low friction. They like that sort of stuff.
We don't like change, right? So if this is low friction, we can just swap it in. Nobody will notice. Everything will be cool.
Let's understand what Fabric itself is. Fabric is Microsoft's data analytic unified solution. Ooh. Software as a service. Oh, sounds amazing, doesn't it?
I already want it.
Oh, and it's all low friction, remember? This is just the best thing. Okay, so if your company uses Synapse Workspaces, uses ADF, uses Power BI, uses SQL databases, uses any sort of lakehouse solution, yeah, these all sound familiar words you've heard the folk talk about? some nodding heads. Okay, this is what Fabric is. We have all of these things that are experiences. Okay, now you can see already there's a lot of stuff there. We've got 30 minutes, so we're not going to have time to go through everything. So there's lots of experiences, and
Fabric is a SaaS product. So what does that mean? Well, it means low friction, right? We already covered that. But what we're expecting is all this stuff to just work. And a lot of the administration stuff will be taken care of by Microsoft, right? Because they're providing this software as a service to us. There's no complex setup. There's no infrastructure headaches. Why are you laughing?
It just works on your browser. You just need a browser. Amazing.
Perfect. Basically, the thought is that Fabric is going to come in and it's going to take the complexity away from your difficult data analytics, right? If you've ever done data warehousing or data analytics or any of the cool...
These folk haven't done any of that.
You're lucky.
Yeah.
Because it's complicated, it's difficult. Fabric makes it all easy. And this is what our CEOs, our higher level folks are hearing and reading about, right? Which is why it's ending up in our organizations. And there's actually a pretty massive adoption rate for Fabric. So
super successful.
It's probably going to pop up near you soon if it hasn't already.
Which is why we chose to do this session here. So we joke a little bit about it, but actually there are some really cool things that go on here. So they have this thing called OneLake. Right? OneLake is where all of your data is stored, unified across at tenant level. So you think about Microsoft Azure tenant, everything there is in one place. The biggest problem with all of your data analytical solutions is the issue of moving your data around here and there and everywhere. Yeah? Because you want your shop front end to have a database that can surface hundreds of thousands of customers a day, but your reporting people need to be able to query the entire database to see how much has been going on. So you need to move that data around. Fabric makes that a simpler solution.
I think one of my favorite examples here of why OneLake and all your data being in one place is great is like the integration that you can, or the integrations that you have available to you, right? So we talked about our shop front end. Imagine if we're selling ice creams. We've got sales data coming in. It's in a SQL Server database. We can we can create these beautiful reports showing sales over months of the year, right? And there's like a bit of a weird graph where in the summer we sell way more ice cream than in the winter. Obviously, on a macro level, we know why, right? In this part of the world, the winter is cold, less ice cream. But you could also pull in weather data, IoT sensors reporting weather is coming into your OneLake as well. You can now combine those data sources more easily, right? Because they're all in one place.
Sorry, I stole your slide.
That's fine. I mean, it says Jess, but you go.
Yeah, that's okay. This one says Rob.
You can have this.
Okay, then.
Just keep talking.
Simple. Here are all of the things that you have in Fabric. You can imagine, we could sit here all day. We could sit here for the next 2 days to go through what all of these things are. But they are the components, mostly based on the Azure resources that you already know about, that exist to gather data and to move it around and to provide analytics and to create Power BI reports at its simplest.
Magic. So what we really care about as PowerShell folks, as probably mostly systems admin or administration folks, is how do we deploy it? Someone's going to come to you and be like, hey, I was flying across the world and I want Fabric and I want it now. And so we want to know how we deploy it, right? Well, the easiest way and the way that most people are going to see this right first is no code, right? It's great. We don't even need PowerShell.
No code.
No code.
This is the PowerShell Conference.
Yeah, but we can just clicky in the browser. See? Clicky.
But what if I've got hundreds of thousands of them?
Oh, clicky faster.
Oh.
There are other options, folks. There are other options. Don't worry. What we can also use is deployment pipelines, which we will talk about them later, depending on time and excitement levels. We also have Git integration, so you can deploy things through your source control, through your Azure DevOps pipelines, more pipelines.
I have views about the Git integration.
Sorry.
I have views.
You have views, yes. The Git integration is interesting. You can set it up to integrate easily with Azure DevOps or GitHub, and Azure DevOps seems to work mostly okay some of the time. And the GitHub one immediately throws rate limit errors because it must sync like too often or something for the API. But anyway, meet me on the open stage for that rant. We've also got Fabric CI/CD, which is a Python library that was developed by folks inside Microsoft because they had Microsoft Fabric and they needed to automate the deployment. If you end up looking at Fabric CI/CD, go to the Reddit subred for Fabric because there is some really great discussions out there of people using this and developing it. It's actually, there's some good content out there. So
honestly, Reddit is a super good resource for getting understanding of how folk are using Fabric and answering the problem. So
yeah,
very, very serious subreddit to go to. Other more Microsoft-y, more expected deployment methods is you got the Fabric CLI. It's like the AZ CLI, AZD CLI, all of those sort of things. It's a way of deploying things. You got Terraform.
Woo!
Infrastructure as code. Amazing. We like infrastructure as code. We can define our infrastructure and it will be so. We have the Fabric Tools Community PowerShell module. Like we're going to say that's wonderful. It's not really wonderful. Not yet. Not today. It will become wonderful.
It's getting there.
But it's not there yet.
It's pre 1.0, so that should be your expectation level. But there's a lot of potential there.
Okay, so that's all the ways there is of deploying. What's missing?
Well, you have one more click on this slide. Do you know that?
Do I have one more click?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I do.
The glue.
But I still want to know if anybody can see what's missing. From deploying a Microsoft Cloud product, what solution is not here? PowerShell models there. Bicep. Right. So every single one of these all use the API. Okay, unlike Azure, where you can have the API and then the portal will follow along backwards. Remember, low friction. So the web browser comes first, and then later stuff gets exposed in the API, which is what enables you to use any of these things. That is a design choice. But no. The only thing that you can deploy with Bicep to do with Fabric is what is called a capacity. Because capacity is technically an Azure resource that lives inside an Azure subscription. A capacity is a billing box that enables you to group together things in a region for certain people to pay on the budget. Everything else gets deployed inside that capacity. Nothing can be deployed with Bicep. It's not even on their roadmap. Okay? Ready? Next. Yours.
Demos.
Demo.
Great. Yay.
I'm done.
Let's see some PowerShell code. No, you have to talk about the demos. Oh. All right. Let's get rid of this. Cool. All right. Is this big enough at the back? Great.
Is this big enough at the front? Okay, good.
Sure. Okay. Inclusive. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So as we mentioned, the API calls, all of the other tools are built on top of the APIs, so we can just use the APIs through PowerShell, right?
That's been run.
Okay. So did you add that since I looked at this 10 minutes ago?
Yep.
Great. All right, so let's connect to our AZ account. Now, as with everything, this happens behind. Why wouldn't it? And you can see we're now connected with Azure PowerShell. We've got that token. We also then need to connect with our Fabric account. So we'll run connect Fabric account. That's coming from the Fabric Tools module. With like dbatools and like most good PowerShell modules, we have prefix on all of the commands. So you know that they're coming from the Fabric Tools module. Like good PowerShell people, we want to make sure that our demo environment is exactly how we expect it to be before we start the demos, so that we don't get a bunch of red.
You see all those warnings? How are you going to get rid of those? How are you going to stop them appearing on your screen? Warning action preference. What a wonderful idea that would be. Yeah? If only that would work. So here's the thing about the Fabric Tools module. We need your help. because you're PowerShell folk.
Shall I shut the door? Trap them in?
Yeah.
Great.
Like, yeah, we just code it all, right? Get it fixed now, right? No, but seriously, we need your help because you're PowerShell folk and you can fix these sort of things very quickly for us. Fabric Tools is a combination of 4 or 5 different modules that people have done in different ways and brought together. So what Jess and I have done is we've helped this team to enable it to use Sampler. So we have the deployment, the build and test process very much automated, running on the Sampler framework, able to go. We've got a lot of pester tests. We've got all our help sorted out now. We've got some good parameters. We support should process. So we're fixing a lot of these things as we go along. Some things we haven't got to yet. Yeah. Because unfortunately, warning action preferences will not fix that problem. Okay, because that is done in a different way by somebody who has coded it because they needed to do Fabric stuff, not because they needed to do PowerShell stuff. So deadly serious, please come and help. It's a good way of learning and teaching and coding within a decent repository. It's going to get a lot of use. We will accept issues, go see the issues, fix them, bring PRs, bring your knowledge through, and then you can connect with people who know how to do Fabric and teach them how to do PowerShell and make a good product. We can make something cool together. This is exactly how dbatools started years ago. Yeah, we started with a module and a load of scripts that came from various places, and gradually we combined it through and built this thing. So we know it's possible. We know we can do it. We need help from the PowerShell people as well as from the experts in that particular area. Anyway, so everything looked green.
Everything looked green. And actually, we added this morning because we were in Sean's session and he was showing the Spectra console module and introduced Gilbert's module test explorer thing. So we added that in because how cool does that look? But anyway, we like to make sure. Sorry. Oh,
I said I really liked it. I really liked that.
Yeah, I liked it too. Great. Anyway, we want to make sure our demo environment is in the perfect state so that when we start doing demos, we don't have any problems, and you can see green everywhere. So let's go ahead and use get AZ access token to get an access token. You'll notice that we are getting it back as a secure string now because since AZ accounts 5.0 and above, that is returned as a secure string. So what we can do is we can convert it back to a plain text string.
Do you want to do a clear screen on that?
Sorry.
Stop that. Do that.
Add it to our headers. And then we can create a new workspace just as an API request, right? Display name, description in the body, invoke REST method, API request. We made a workspace in Fabric.
Look at that. It's amazing.
No applause. Okay, fine. All right. Oh, that was sad. No.
Yeah, but come on. No. You for these people, you like all your users are going, that's way too much work. I want to open a browser and click on a button that says create and fill in a thing. They are. I promise you they are.
Here's the workspace we made through the AI. Through the AI. Jeez, okay. Through the API.
So stop. That's Fabric.
Oh.
Right. Most of your users are going to believe that is Fabric.
Clicky, clicky.
Clicky, clicky. Right?
Ready.
Workspaces, inside a workspace is going to be things. So it's cool for one. Super hard for your users to make many. Jess, make many.
Introducing Fabric Tools.
Because you're PowerShell folk.
Yeah.
You're automation folk. You're going to want to make stuff like, yeah?
Now, as Rob mentioned, we're using Sampler. That was one of the things we contributed to the Fabric Tools module when we got involved maybe a month ago, maybe not even that. And you can see that we've got 0.10, which is the last proper version, and now we've been iterating through these alphas to get it close to being just more professional, more what you would expect from a top shelf PowerShell module. But anyway, what we can do is we can do get Fabric workspace, and then I'll pipe it to format table, and you can see I've got a bunch of workspaces. They have descriptions. You'll notice some of them have really crazy names because we were working out if there was any restrictions on what you can put in a workspace name, and this is a legitimate workspace name.
There
Spaces,
really isn't.
Characters, whatever you want.
And the reason I was doing that is because Informatica need to scan them for various things, and the restrictions they put on the naming are not the same as the ones that your users can put, and that won't cause any problems at all, except literally the first thing I tried, I couldn't. First workspace I tried, I couldn't put in. Anyway,
So let's get Fabric Workspace with a workspace name, the one we just created. And I'm using out variable, which is a PowerShell common parameter, which just means whatever is returned on the screen is also stashed in that variable, which is super useful. And let's remove that one. So remove Fabric Workspace.
Wait. Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Okay.
When we first started helping them with this, it just got rid of it. And I was like, oh, God, I just wanted to press the yes button, But yeah, it was just gone. But yeah, supporting should process remove all destructive functions at this point. So that one's cleared up. So let's go ahead and do, like you said, handling multiples. We're going to create 6 workspaces for our demos because we've got 3 environments, dev, test, prod. And in Fabric, there's no real restriction on how many workspaces you might want to set up. It's going to be dependent on all kinds of decisions that you need to make. But one that I recommend is splitting your data things from your Cody things. So like databases, data warehouses, lake houses in a data workspace, and then data pipelines. All of the other things. Name some other things that go in the other one.
Well, you could have your pipelines. You might also have your metadata databases. You're going to look at splitting out, because I was going to say maybe you have a different set that have your semantic models and your Power BI reports also, because you want to control your permissions and your things like that.
Yeah.
But the important thing is you can make as many workspaces as you want. We're going to have some data warehousey space ones, and we're going to have some pipeliney space ones because...
Yeah, the way you deploy code type things like data pipelines versus data things like data warehouses are going to differ. So making those in different warehouses is a good idea. Workspaces, sorry. Thank you.
Yes, okay.
All right, so let's go for the workspaces and let's do a for each because this is PowerShell. And for each one, we're going to create a workspace with new Fabric workspace.
So your data store within a Fabric workspace is going to be either the stuff that's in the one lake, which is going to be most of it. On top of that, you might have a lake house, or you might have a warehouse, or you might have a Fabric SQL database. A Fabric SQL database is a SQL database. It's almost exactly the same as an Azure SQL database. Almost. Pretty close. The engine, the SQL bit is the same. I get this the wrong way around every time. In a warehouse, you have a SQL endpoint.
Yes.
Result. So in a warehouse, it is a data store that is going to enable you to query it with T-SQL via a SQL endpoint. And in a lakehouse, you're going to have a data store that's going to enable you to query it with Spark. And the difference between those is going to depend on the skills of the team that are doing it. Data underneath pretty much is going to be stored in Parquet file formats because it's super fast and efficient at bringing back a load of data efficiently, being able to query.
Cool. So I used Get Fabric Workspace. We've got our 6 workspaces and we've added descriptions to make sure we're kind of documenting as we go. And now we need to look at capacities. So Get Fabric Capacity, format table. Let's see what we got here. And I'm also stashing that in the cap variable. All right, cool. We got 2 capacities, and this is basically the billing, right? We mentioned this is the Azure resource. We got premium per user. We'll use that one, right?
No.
It's Rob's credit card. No. Okay, and we've got a trial account. Now, the capacities, there are different SKUs for your capacity, depending on how much money you want to pay and how much performance you want, right? With the trial, you get F64 SKU, which is like pretty big.
Consider a SKU as an analogy of a CPU
a capacity
usage.
Of it. Oh, yeah? You did.
It is a capacity unit. And CUs, you'll see a big C, big U, little s, is not more than one CU. It is a capacity unit second. And that is what everything is building. Okay? So an F64 has half as many CUs available as an F128. Funnily enough, it also costs you twice as much.
Perfect.
Surprise. Now, it can get real deep and nerdy. I mean, like you could literally spend all day on looking at how this stuff works, but it is possible for you to use more than 64 CUs in a second or an hour for a period of time. You can borrow more, but then you'll pay it back over the next period of time. So your CUs, your SKU, is just a box of available power to do data stuff. What uses a CU? Everything you have in your workspace. All of those actions are going to use it in a different way or format. Go for it.
So our workspaces have to be assigned capacity to be able to put any of the things we want to do in there. So I've just used out grid view because I don't want to deal in grids, and I will grab the premium one, right? Credit card?
No.
I'll grab the trial one.
Thank you.
And for each of our demo workspaces, I will just register the Fabric workspace to I'll register the capacity basically to the workspace.
And most likely your prod capacity, you might start off in your testing at the normal F64, F32, and then later on you'll be like, right, now we're going to ramp it up. So now can we move that to a different one? We've got the PowerShell to do that. In effect, you're just reassigning your workspace from one capacity to another, from one billing and one capability box to a bigger one.
Nice. Now we've got our capacities. All of our workspaces now have a capacity, so we can put things in them. Now we're gonna loop through our workspaces, and for any that are like DWH, so those are our data ones, we are going to create a new Fabric Lakehouse. It is going to be called Los Angeles Lakehouse. Clever.
It's like the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
And you can see that you can have the same name in different workspaces, right? So same name, Fabric Lakehouse is in each of our environments. We have a dev one, we have a test one, we have a prod one.
And so there's a bit like, if you think about a workspace, a bit like a resource group, a logical container to do a bit of access control to keep those things together.
Let's have a SQL database too, because we're SQL database folks. Oh,
nope.
boy.
Nope, we're not going to.
Why not? 400.
Probably because we've still got too many, or...
An unexpected error has occurred with status code 400.
I think we should just move on.
Yeah, we will.
We'll come back to that. Fabric is quite new. Sometimes the API goes a bit screwy, especially about 1,500 hours over here, which is about the time the the East Coast. No, I was right first time. The West Coast works up.
America.
Oh, stop taking photos of me.
Anyway, we'll also put some data pipelines. We're going to put those in
What's the pipeline called?
The pipeline is called Jeffrey Snover, King of Pipelines. Yes, perfect. And we're going to put those in our workspaces that are not like DWH, right? So we've got our data stuff in some workspaces and our data pipelines in the other ones. Cool. And then we can use get fabric workspace for a specific workspace and say get fabric item. And you should see that we have more than we expected, right? Because we've got our lake house, which we created down here. And then up here, you can see we've got a semantic model. Rob loves semantic models.
I do.
Will you tell us about them?
No, we've not got time.
Not today. We don't know what they are. And then a SQL endpoint, which, as Rob mentioned, the difference between data warehouses and lake houses was the endpoint. So maybe I had them the wrong way around.
I trusted you.
Don't trust me. This isn't recorded.
But this means that for this would be wherever it is. The SQL endpoint would be the thing that you would connect to in Management Studio with dbatools, with whatever you're going to be using to connect and look at your data, return your data, ETL your data.
I'm pretty certain that lake houses don't have SQL endpoints.
Anyway,
okay, carry on. So we've got our workspaces, we've got our items, and we can manage these all with Fabric. With Fabric tools, the PowerShell module that we hope you'll help us to make even better. We can manage them in the clicky GUI, which is where we're going to head in a second.
Let's see how many things we have.
We got a lot of things.
All right, so when you do that with dbatools, we'll tell you that there are about 43,227,000 commands. Yeah, at the moment, we're at about 170 here. But that get command will show you that we can... There's event houses, there's event streams, there's KQL databases, there's KQL query sets, there's reports, there's semantic models, there's Spark
reflexes.
jobs, there's no reflexes, there's activators, which is what they're now called. All of these things. So there's way more things available to you than we can show you in a short amount of time. But they're all pretty much available in this module at the moment.
So... workspaces. Let's filter this by, if we could spell DWH, right? Because we created 6 workspaces, 3 with DWH in the name, 3 without. And you can see if we click into one of them, we got things, right? Here's our lakehouse. Here's our semantic model. Here's our SQL. And
yeah, grab the 2 doodads and you can drag it up.
Yeah.
Okay. This is what your users think Fabric is.
Mm-hmm.
This is what they're going to do. They're going to click on a lakehouse. Click on a lakehouse.
Boop.
It's going to open up a lakehouse. In that browser, they're going to be able to query their data, your data, the data, using T-SQL. So if you drop down a little doodads next to the tables or...
Oh, it's over here. I can swap it.
Yep, you can explore it that way, but you could also, if you go over there to the lefticals...
Further?
There should be a...
Is it because I changed it?
Could be.
Here, tables.
There we go. Through 3 little doodads. Okay, you can create a new shortcut. What's a shortcut? Remember I said about the one lake, where all of your data for your tenant lives? There, and in other places, you will have flat files stored in some ways. You can create a shortcut to go and pick up that data from any of these places, and probably more to come, which means that that data which is stored over there in the storage account is now available to your users over here in the lakehouse to be able to query with T-SQL, with Spark, with Python, with whatever they want to be able to do.
Our ice cream data.
Our ice
creams and our weather, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
Unified. Low friction.
All together. The CSV that I put into the AI in the keynote, store it in the one lake, query it in whatever I want to. Get a notebook, do some querying, ETL, create a report. It's all going to be available. This is what your users are going to be doing with Fabric.
Cool. That is pretty much... Shall I remove everything? Let's wait.
No, let's not remove it just yet.
As with Azure, in Fabric, we want to make sure we clean up after we're doing demos. So make sure you clean up after yourself. Don't be spending extra CUs or Azure dollars on things you don't need. So
we have exactly... Oh dear, can't do that. Oh no, I haven't got it. We're come back. We have exactly 12 minutes worth of Q and indeed A. So our first Q is, was that useful? Excellent.
Cool.
There we go.
More nodding than I expected. This is always a weird one, right? Because like me and Rob sit in the data world and the PowerShell world, and we like to try and teach the data folks PowerShell, and then we like to teach the PowerShell some data so that we can kind of bring you closer to the data folks in your organization.
And also because if you hear the way that we talk about these things, it will enable you to talk to your data folk and understand what they're saying as well in a better way. Because you're like, oh yeah, I kind of heard that before. So feel free to stick your hand up if you have a question or shout it out if you want to. Anybody, come on. There's loads of questions there. What's next? Yes, boss.
Well, it didn't say who was asking the questions, so I thought we were asking the questions.
We can ask questions. Do you have a question?
I do have a question.
Okay.
Has anyone already got Fabric in their organizations and has heard of it already? Yeah? Okay.
Oh,
nice. How recently has it popped up?
You have to say words to us.
How
many? A couple of months ago. Same at the back. How long ago? Almost a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was pretty fresh because I think it's been around 15 months GA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So one of the reasons for that is that all of your customers who have Power BI are getting big banners along the top. GERT is a West Country of the UK word that means big, lots.
It does mean big lots.
But a big banner along the top that says your Power BI licenses are going to expire. You need to buy Fabric licenses. So Power BI licenses will no longer exist, and you're going to have to migrate all of these Power BI capacities that exist into Fabric. So that's one reason why there's a big thing. Another reason has nothing to do with the salespeople. This is recorded, so You can ask me to say the rest of that sentence another day. But
Question? Go for it.
Since Power BI licenses are fine, how does that work with E5 licenses as Power BI Pro?
I don't think
so the question was, seeing as the Power BI licenses are all expiring and we have to go to Fabric, what happens with the E5 Pro licenses? My answer to you is, please talk to your licensing expert, because licensing is super hard and probably even they don't understand it themselves, but they'll be able to tell you.
This is recorded.
Okay. But undoubtedly it's going to involve somebody getting their credit card out and paying an invoice at some point. Honestly, I am never ever want to get involved in licensing, so I'm not going to.
I suspect there's a difference between the Pro and the Premium, though. So Premium is the one that's going to Fabric, while
So the statement is that the surmising is that there will be Pro staying where it is and the Premium going to Fabric. I won't make a comment.
I think another thing, when you're thinking of Fabric, like I know when I first saw Fabric and I started watching sessions about it and stuff, I was like, what is this? Like, what is this thing, right? Because it's so big. It's like us trying to explain all of the Azure resources in one 30-minute session or whatever. Like, there's loads of stuff out there. But some of it you'll be familiar with already, like the SQL databases in Fabric. If you're familiar with Azure SQL database, that's going to feel very similar, right? Power BI reports, going to feel very similar.
Who does stuff with IoT? No IoT, event streaming stuff, none of that? No? Because that is all going to come. You've got to pull it all in. I did a demo with my wife in German about taking our camera information from our CCTV, firing that IoT data into an event stream. So you're just pushing all of these messages through. And then using Fabric to filter those and to create reports and to move all the stuff. So you can imagine that in your companies, any place that you have data of any sort and it is being manipulated, Fabric is going to be the place where you're going to be using it if you're a Microsoft house. Mm-hmm. It's super good. Yes, boss.
Mm.
So the question is, in Fabric and in Power BI, you have what are called on-premise gateways. So to explain to everybody else for a minute, an on-premise gateway is literally a virtual machine that is sitting on the boundary between your network and the Power BI or the Fabric software as a service. Yeah. So it is enabling you to be able to push that connection through and then connect to other resources on your network. So the question was, do we have any functions for that within our module? And the answer is, I do not think that we do. And please raise an issue.
Yeah.
What sort of things would you think you would do with a... So be thinking about creating a connection to a database or creating a question to a share.
No, I don't think we currently have anything.
We have connections. What do we got for connections there?
For connections?
Yes.
Let me use our grid view because it's easier for searching. Connections.
There we go.
Get Fabric connection.
So we have some bits and bobs, but not all. Any more questions? Keep going. All the things you wanted to learn, things you didn't know about Fabric.
Also, if you...
That's scratching your ear. That's teasing me. Yes, boss. No, he was scratching his ear, so it is you. The question is, will AI be there? Let me ask you a question. Do you think AI will be there? Yes, absolutely. Hang on, can you go back to the workspaces a sec? What have we got? Somewhere in there is one of those sampler ones has got some data in it. It's not that one. Unfortunately not. I thought we were going to be able to find it, but we can't. We can have a look later. Your Copilot experience is going to be available in all of the Fabric things. You're going to be able to use Copilot to ask questions about what you have available, particularly about what you have available within your data. It's also going to enable you within some of the query panes to be able to write queries about, write me a query that's going to tell me how many shirts that are blue I've sold in Asia. That sort of thing is going to be able to come through. Okay. Yes, boss.
Is that the M365 Copilot, or is that a separate Copilot specifically for Fabric?
So the question is that M365 Copilot, or is that another Copilot? That is the Fabric Copilot, I believe.
So too.
I believe.
Separate friends.
So remember when I said that we have capacity units? We have capacity unit seconds, and that everything will use them. One of the things that you'll find will use an awful lot of them, if you let it, will be Copilot, especially on a SQL database. It will go and see what's going on. Everything uses capacity unit seconds. Copilot especially so.
It's worth mentioning that, like, obviously you mentioned about if you use up your CUs, you can kind of dip into the negative, and then it'll basically smoothing. It's called smoothing, that you'll have less capacity while you get that back, basically. But one of the things you need to watch for is in your workspaces, because it's per workspace, right? Whether there are things like people using Copilot that could use all your capacity up, and now suddenly you can't run business processes that you need to. So you need to really be careful with those capacities.
Once you spend too much capacity unit seconds, what happens first is background connections will be paused for a while, for 10 seconds. They'll be delayed. And then upfront user connections will be delayed for maybe 10 seconds. And then once you get further up, they'll get stopped, blocked, kicked out. Your customers who are using that data will not be able to make a connection because you've already spent all of the capacity at the moment. Okay, so it is something you need to be aware of. Maybe you don't, but you should be able to understand this is happening. You definitely should go and have a look at the Fabric throttling documentation on Learn for Microsoft. Definitely. Any more questions?
And if you do have more questions, you've got our contact details. We'll be around for the rest of the week. You can find us on LinkedIn, lurking around on the internet. Hopefully you'll find us in the GitHub repo for Fabric tools, because like Rob said,
show the repo.
Show the repo.
Everybody's coming to the community event tonight, yes? Yep. I just want to make sure that you tell all of your folk that it is included in everything. There's nothing extra. Please come along. And we will have some food. There will be some drink. There'll be an opportunity to sit down with people and have a chat. Hey, guess what? We're going to be there too.
I'm not going.
Yeah? So, yes, you are.
I'm going. There's food there. I'm going, okay? If you know the first thing about me, that's how you attract me.
Yeah. Which means that when we're walking around and saying hi and having a chat, you thought of a question, we'll sit and talk about it. That's the point. So we nerd out about these things. We ask the questions. We do the networking. We all learn together. Okay? So this is our repo for Fabric tools. It's got everything in it. You'll see, those of you that know will recognize that this is a sampler module. We have some good tests in there. There's a lot of good PowerShell stuff in there. We've got issues. We've got pull requests. We've got discussions. We would like you to join in. We would absolutely love you to come bring your PowerShell knowledge here and fix some stuff, because for you folk here who know PowerShell, some of these things will be super simple.
Easy pickings for contributions. And it's worth saying, like, when I found PowerShell however many years ago in my SQL Server world, and I started contributing to dbatools, it was a great way for me to learn PowerShell because I knew the SQL Server stuff. But this kind of line between them is a great way to learn either thing, right? You know PowerShell, come and play with the APIs in Fabric tools and learn Fabric more, right? You can get a trial and mess around with it. It's a great way of learning. And it's also just great to be part of the community, right? Like, obviously, now I travel around, excuse me, and I come to conferences and I hang out with Rob. We mostly met through doing open source stuff online together. You just make good friends, travel the world, eating good food.
Absolutely.
Hanging out with these folks.
What's not to like?
What's not? Yeah, it's good times. But anyway, I think we're at time. And maybe there'll be snacks downstairs. I don't know. There's a ping pong tournament, day 2 ping pong tournament.
Absolutely. That will be going on.
Downstairs.
Yep.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time with us.
Good work.